Let's cut all the noise and get straight to the point about the three options you have if you want to move to British Columbia through investment. If you are not considering investment options at this time to immigrate to Canada, this video is not for you. For all others, let's jump right in and learn about these interesting investment pathways. Now, later in the video, I will be talking about a turnkey business opportunity that you will not want to miss, so please stay tuned. Now, there are so many videos that talk about the top reasons to move to BC, such as their milder climate, breathtaking beauty, high quality of life, thriving job market, and all that. My goal is to not repeat all that information here. I like to focus on content that no one else is talking about, so let's get right to the point. Under the investment category, you pretty much have these three options. Either the BC PNP Base Entrepreneur Program or the BC PNP's Regional Entrepreneur Program, which is similar to the Rural Entrepreneurship Program, by the way, for Alberta. And then finally, you have the Federal Startup Visa Program. It's so important to know which one you're best suited for, and for that, you need to understand these programs very well. So let's take them one by one so you understand them. Stay with me while I explain the crux of all three programs, and I'm sure you'll leave with a ton of good information. Let's talk about the Base Entrepreneurship Program first. Other than the obvious information you can gather from the BC PNP website, such as minimum net worth of $600,000 and at least $200,000 in investment for a minimum of 33.33% stake of a new business or purchase an existing business, let's talk about a few other key aspects that applicants tend to completely overlook. Now, the first thing to note is the applicant's relevant experience to run the business. If you look closely at the eligibility criteria, it only talks about owner-manager experience or senior manager experience. What it doesn't stipulate is the relevance of experience of the applicant, and this is so important. For example, if someone has 10 years of experience running a liquor shop, he should look at businesses where his skills can be transferable, as he needs to run the business he's starting or buying in BC. It'll be hard to prove that an applicant who is a liquor shop owner is now starting an agri-tech business in BC, for example. You get my point. Something similar in retail may be even okay for this applicant. If he was buying a restaurant or buying a convenience store, these are better options than an agri-tech business. Secondly, a net worth verification report by an authorized company is a must. Companies like Grant Thornton or MNP or KPMG. Now, when you receive the invitation to apply, you will be given a list of authorized companies. So please wait to engage with the company until you receive the ITA, as the list of who is authorized sometimes changes. This process of net worth verification is time consuming, and if you don't have your documents lined up nicely, this can take a very long time to get done. Remember that you only have 4 months after ITA, and you'll be surprised as to how long the net worth verification can actually take. Third is the location of your work must be 50 kilometers in and around your home. For example, if you need to drive far to take a 30-minute ferry ride to get to your workplace, you'll be disqualified. So don't take this lightly. Make sure to live in and around where you purchase your business or your office if you are starting a new business. Now, fourth is the exploratory visit, which is a must in my opinion, even though they say it's only recommended. With the program in such high demand, the difference between getting an ITA and not is an exploratory visit. It also makes a lot of sense to do this so even you can get an idea on what business to start or buy or where you can live. Especially if you have children, this trip may make a lot of sense to explore different locations, schools, etc., before making a choice to move to the province. People sometimes get confused with the application process, so let me explain it here. Step 1 is to determine your eligibility, and we already covered a few points on this, such as minimum 600,000 net worth, minimum 200,000 investment, and such, right? Now, I'll leave the full details in the description below for you to check out and determine for yourself if you are eligible. Now, once you find out that you are eligible, the next step is to conduct an exploratory visit to British Columbia to learn about business opportunities, the local market, and the best location for you to establish your business, like we talked about earlier. Now, for the base program, you can set up your business anywhere in BC. So that gives you some flexibility. During this exploratory visit, you must identify a business you want to start from scratch or purchase an existing business. And remember, you need a minimum of 33.33% stake in the business to qualify. Now, once you have identified the location and the business you want to start or purchase, you create a profile and submit an online registration. The registration will ask for details about your work and business experience, your education, language scores, your net worth, and information about your proposed business in British Columbia. It'll take about 4 months for them to assess your registration and give you a score. Now, if you have a high score, you will get an invitation to apply, and you will have another 4 months to submit a full application. After ITA is when you will engage with an authorized company for net worth verification, like I said earlier. Note that you get points based on your net worth, your education, language scores, amount you're investing, etc. So higher the investment, higher the score. Higher the net worth, higher the score. If you meet just the minimum for all categories, then you may not make the cut for the minimum scores that'll get you an ITA. Many people think that they qualify if they have just the minimum scores. Please understand your scores well and do an approximate math on what score you can get before you dive deep into this program. So you need a score of 115 plus to have any chance of getting an ITA. And unlike other profiles, the registration with BC PNP is only valid for 6 months. So keep these things in mind when considering both BC PNP entrepreneur programs. Now, coming back to the application process, after you submit a complete application, you may be invited to attend an in-person interview in Vancouver to discuss details of your application. At this stage, you're still coming to Canada on your visitor visa, okay? If your application is approved at this in-person interview or virtual interview, if you are outside of Canada, you must sign a performance agreement that outlines all the requirements you must meet to be nominated for PR. BCPNP will issue you a letter of confirmation, which is a work permit support letter, so you may apply for a work permit to come to BC to implement your business plan. You must come to BC within 12 months after your work permit is approved. If you are already inside Canada and you have plans to stay back after you have successfully completed your interview, you can apply for this work permit from inside Canada as well, and many of our clients do this. Now, after obtaining a work permit, you can plan to fly to BC if you are not already in BC, begin implementing your business plan as per the performance agreement you signed, make your investments, and create jobs. Your spouse or common law partner may apply for an open work permit and join you as well. Now, I forgot to mention this before. You must create at least one job for a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident in 14 months of operating your business in BC. There are a few other rules around this, such as employee cannot hold 10% or more shares in the business, cannot be a family member, cannot be an independent contractor and such. So ensure you're following all of these rules. Now, after you meet the terms and conditions of your performance agreement, you must submit a final report to the BC PNP. If the BC PNP determines you have met the terms and conditions, you will be nominated for permanent residence. Now, final reports are typically assessed within 4 months, so follow what's written on that performance agreement very closely. This is really your practical manual to get your Canadian PR, so follow it like your life depends on it. And this is the moment you would have worked very hard for. Once you receive the nomination, you, your spouse, or your common law partner and dependent children, if you have any, can then apply to IRCC to become permanent residents of Canada under the provincial nominee class. Now, looking at the Regional Entrepreneur Program, this is almost similar to the Alberta Rural Entrepreneur Program. The minimum investment of only $100,000 and the net worth requirement of only $300,000 all sound quite attractive, but you need to consider a few things here, so let's take a look. You must operate only a new business in only one of the participating communities, and the business must be in one of their priority sectors. and you must own at least 51% stake in the business. Remember that you cannot buy an existing business in this case, you must start a new one. And you need a community support letter before you can register for this program. Most of the points are same as the base program we just discussed. Now, let's look at the main priority sectors for each of the communities. I'm only talking about the ones that are considered priority across various communities. For each community's specific priority list, you will have to visit their website. I'll leave it in the description below. If you focused on genuine businesses in any of these sectors, you will be able to get a community support letter. Now, as promised at the beginning of the video, here is the turnkey and patented business for investment, which can qualify either for the BC Base or the Regional Entrepreneur Programs. As a side note, it also qualifies for the Alberta Rural Entrepreneur Program. This is a business that has attracted provinces across Canada and is one of the proud recipients of the World Bank Development Marketplace Award, among many other awards for its innovative concept. I only talk about businesses on which we have done a thorough due diligence. We have a lot of information to share about this business opportunity with serious clients, and this is only done via paid consultations. So if you are keen to learn more, please book a consultation and we can discuss your eligibility to run this business. Now let's move to our third and final option for investment pathways for BC. The Startup Visa program is something I've talked a lot about in prior videos, and I'll leave the links to all those in the description below. This is a federal program allowing you to stay anywhere in Canada, and for sure you can pick BC as well. Now, with no minimum investment, no age barrier, no minimum education, no minimum net worth, it may seem like an attractive program, and it certainly is if done right. But that's where people have completely misused this program to no end. The refusal rate for Startup Visa is now at 85%. There are over 10,000 applications, and at least more than 4,000 of them are all for fake businesses. Check out my video where I'm talking about this. You must find it up here. Now, what people struggle with the most is the innovative business piece, and people got creative to find loopholes around this. Most people have ideas but don't know how to execute on it. All they have is just a fancy business plan with full of fluff. Many people actually went one step further and hired Figma developers to create stunning mock-ups of their businesses with no real customers or anything. And others went even further and set up fake revenue streams to make it seem like their business is legitimate, but they don't even have a working prototype of their business. And for months, they circulate this fake revenue again and again. So a lot of this is happening in the market now, and IRCC is rejecting these applications left, right, and center. For Startup Visa program to be successful, first of all, genuineness is very important. You need a revenue generating business with real customers and user traction. You need an experienced team with complementary skill sets, and you need a letter of support from a designated entity that has a good reputation, not from an entity that will just hand out a letter of support if you just paid them. I know many projects where the co-founders have not attended a single call with the designated entity. So if that's the process you are following where you have to do nothing, well, I can tell you for sure that your PR application is not going anywhere. You need all three aspects to work well with each other to get your PR. Here's a simple diagram to show you how we execute the Startup Visa program at Bluewater Immigration. So we follow a structured plug-and-play methodology, but it's not as simple as it sounds. Let me explain, so please listen closely. Each year, we have multiple tech-based innovative businesses in Canada's priority sectors that are already pre-approved by reputed designated entities. And these are pre-approved because even before we go to these designated entities, our businesses have user traction and is also revenue generating. Now, these are real revenues from real paying customers. Now, which designated entity we go to depends on the project. There are a few we go to for agri-tech projects versus a different set of entities for health tech, for example. Now, the second stage is we now begin forming teams that have the experience to scale the business. We look for people with a wide variety of skills that are generic and specific domain experience as well. We are always looking for people with technical skills, operations, sales, marketing, finance, legal, and specific domain backgrounds, such as physicians, for example, for our health tech projects. We spend a lot of time with the team to orient them to the business. This is so important. At the end of these sessions, the team will know the ins and outs of the business they are tied to and are prepared to meet the designated entity. Now, this is the third step. We then submit the team's profile to the designated entity, and upon approval and interviews with the designated entity, the designated entity issues the letter of support. We use this letter of support to then apply for PR. This is the fourth step when immigration becomes active. Once PR application is submitted, the work is non-stop to keep scaling the business and sending updates to IRCC, which is step 5, until PR is approved. We also apply for open work permits for all co-founders so they can travel to Canada to help scale the business, while they can also work for any other employer, as this is an open work permit initially given for 3 years. The final step is IRCC being convinced of the genuine business and approving Canadian PR for all co-founders and their family members. Being genuine is the most important aspect here. Anything that is too easy and too fast is not good. To build good businesses, it takes time, effort, and excellent people behind it. If you really don't have the experience, maybe you can find other countries where you can simply buy your second residency or citizenship. For Canada, if anyone says just pay this amount and you will get your PR, well, be careful. For Startup Visa program, we definitely need people who can communicate effectively with designated entities, have good business acumen, can understand and grasp the business concepts we are sharing with them. I know it goes against the requirements of needing only a CLB 5 in English, but I can tell you with certainty that most of our clients have a minimum score of CLB 7. With the CLB 5, it's difficult to communicate with the entity effectively unless you come to us with your own amazing idea and you have executed it well, in which case you really don't need us to begin with. You can directly approach these designated entities yourself. And I say not to focus on the priority status of the designated entity, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if the entity issuing you a letter of support has this priority status or not. Yes, in terms of processing times, maybe, but the business to which the letter of support is being issued will be evaluated the exact same way. So if you have an excellent business that you are tied to, it's all that matters. Many people pay a lot more to somehow get the letter of support from VCs, as they all have the priority label. But so many businesses that have these letters of support are being questioned. The business is empty, no real customers, artificial revenue coming in from their setup Cayman funds, etc. IRCC is going deep to question the validity of these letters of support. And you think PR application for any of these teams is going anywhere? Absolutely not. So be careful with your choice of company to execute this program with authenticity. Now, I'm sure you have a ton of questions, and if yes, you can leave them in the comments below and I can respond to them as soon as I'm able. For questions that need a lot more explanations or discussing your specific circumstances, I'd request you to please book a consultation. You can find the link in the description below. Now, please note that I do not do WhatsApp or email consultations, as it's not effective, to say the least. Thanks for watching, and I wish you good luck with your immigration journey.